My name's Jordan Young. I'm a track and field thrower from Canada. For over a decade, I've been working to understand every aspect of throwing. I'm an athlete, which means the only way to be great is through raw hard work and determination. This is my story. I'm going to be taking on one of athletics' biggest challenges, the Olympic Games. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of JY Throws. It's now November, which means it's been 1 month since I began this series, giving me 7 months left to do whatever I can to make the Olympics. In this episode, I want to show you the progression that I've made in my own training over the last month, as well as explain to you some of the new positions that I'm trying to work on technically over the past week. And to wrap things up, I want to discuss the technique of some of the best discus throwers in the world, and start to point out some of the patterns and things that you can see them all doing consistently. So to kick things off today, I want to first say that if you guys have been enjoying this series or find yourself learning something during this episode, if you can, consider hitting that like button so that we can get it out to as many throwers as possible, and it lets me know that you guys are enjoying this content. But now I want to talk about some of the progression that I've been seeing in my training. And in the first episode, I mentioned that there's 4 categories that I need to focus on improving if I want to have a shot at making the Olympics. And those were injuries, strength, technique, and health. So I want to briefly touch on each category and show you the progression that I've made so far. The first category that I want to talk about is injuries. I came into this season with 2 injuries that I've been focusing on improving every day in training, and will continue to focus on them for the remainder of this season. So to start this season off, I began climbing stairs, and this has been phenomenal to help strengthen my back and hips and legs. And after a few weeks of climbing stairs, I went to Germany to meet with a doctor to get injections in my spine. And the medicine that he injects in my spine helps lock everything in place as well as promote healing. So after Germany, I came home and continued to climb stairs, but this time I added a weight vest. And already after a couple weeks of doing it, I'm up to 60 pounds with the weight vest. And I just bought a new vest online that goes up to 140 pounds, so that should last me forever. And I'm just going to continue to try to bump up the weight every week. And after the first month, I've seen enough progress that now I'm starting to pull some sleds and do some pit shark, as well as start to incorporate some other leg workouts, just doing everything that I can to strengthen my legs. The second injury that I began this season with was a shoulder injury, and in the first week of this season, I met with a physical therapist that gave me some great rehab exercises to help strengthen my shoulder. So I've been continuing to do those rehab exercises every day, and I've seen a lot of progress in my shoulder. If you look at this throw from my first day training this season, you can see how low the discus was in my wind, and after a few weeks of trying to improve my shoulder strength, you can see that now I'm holding my wind quite a bit higher. And unfortunately, it's still bugging me enough that I haven't been throwing shot put. I'm just trying to let it rest and recover before I start picking it up again. The next category that I've been focusing on improving is my health. And I just wanted to mention this quickly because I also covered it in my last episode a little bit. But when I got back from Germany, I was able to hire a chef that's been preparing every meal for me. And over the past 3 weeks since I've had her cooking, I've seen such a big jump in my energy levels. And that's been helping me have more productive throwing practices, as well as more productive lifting practices, where I don't get as fatigued at the end of them, so I can continue to put in good work all day. And that brings us into our next category, which is strength. A couple weeks ago, Martin put together this lifting program for me, and this upcoming week we'll be doing week 3 of this program. And I figured I'd put it on the screen to show you guys the things that I'm working on. And once I get all of the exercises done that Martin has on the list, with any remaining time that I have in the weight room, I just try to throw in extra exercises to help strengthen my shoulder. And the biggest progression that I've seen so far in my strength is that now that my shoulder's starting to feel better, I've went back to a regular bar for bench press and incline bench press. And now I'm just trying to slowly build back up in those lifts and make sure that I'm not hurting myself again. And as well as being able to improve my upper body lifts, since my back's been getting a lot stronger from doing all of the stairs, I've been incorporating more leg exercises. And I've been starting to feel some really good things technically as I start to feel more power in my legs. And that brings us into technique, and I've been feeling some great progression throughout the past month in my throw. The first thing that's been very helpful is working on a lot of stand throws, and that's been really helping with consistency in my full throws. And one of the key things that I've been working on over the past month is trying to find the balance over my leg out of the back. And as my leg strength increases, it feels like it's getting easier and easier out of the back to get over top of that leg and stay balanced. Another big position that I've been working on over the past 2 weeks has been trying to get a more active sweep leg, and that helps me rotate around my pivot leg out of the back, and also helps my foot get down to the middle better. Another position that I've been really working on feeling is a nice vertical posture in the middle, and that helps me rotate faster in the middle, but also get my block foot down better. But the thing that I really wanted to focus on today has been something that I've just been trying to work on over the last couple practices, and it came from a comment on my Instagram post from one of my old coaches in high school, Jason Tunks, who's a 3-time Olympian for Canada, and he said something that got me thinking. He was noticing in my throw that I was turning and then dragging this foot behind me, instead of using this leg to really turn and drive me into the throw and start to add extra force into the implement. So now that things are starting to feel more consistent out of the back, and I'm overall doing a better job of getting over my right, but now I feel like I can start to work on something else. So over the next little while, I want to continue to work on this, and I need to make sure that I'm getting my sweep leg down to the middle every time, and then getting my block leg down in a good position, and from there I'll be in a nice balanced position that I can actually use my left leg in the middle to turn and drive my hips into the throw. The next thing that I want to do in this video is cover the technique of some of the world's best discus throwers and start to show you some of the things that all of them have in common. I want to start off by talking about the back of the circle and some things that I'm trying to feel in the throw versus what's actually happening. I showed you guys this picture earlier, and this is pretty complex to explain, but what I'm feeling in the throw is that I'm trying to hit this position and I'm trying to reach nice and long and get over top of my toe. And what's actually happening is I'm working around this axis. But if I try to work around this axis, then my hips will start to fall back in the circle. So to spin properly around this axis, I need to think about getting around an axis that looks like this. So if we take a look at our example throwers, you can see that they're rotating around a similar axis, and the importance of making sure that you're reaching nice and long and trying to get over top of your leg is so that you can get your sweep leg hip all the way onto the other side of the line. So if you look here out of the back, the hip comes all the way onto the other side of the line, and you can see that with every thrower they're reaching long over their pivot leg and getting their sweep leg all the way around that rotational axis so it's completely on the other side of the line. And if we take a look at 4 of the throwers next to each other, you can see how similar the positions are, and there's some slight variations in the off arm and the discus, but overall they're trying to hit the same body positions. The next thing I want to talk about is the middle of the throw. If you hit good positions out of the back and your sweep leg and hip are coming all the way around, then you can get that hip underneath you to hit a nice balanced, tall position in the middle. And you can see that because every thrower hit good positions out of the back, they're all going to land nice and tall in the middle of the circle. And this is one of the biggest variations that you'll see in positions, in terms of the direction that the feet are facing and the off arm, but the overall body position is the same in everyone. And when we look at the throwers next to each other, you can really see the variation in all of the limbs, but overall you can see that they're all balanced over top of their leg in the middle. The final position that I want to talk about is the front of the throw. And if you've done everything else right, then the final thing that you need to do is get a good block. And I want to point out a few important body positions within this position. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is that his center of mass is lined up in the middle of his body, but it's over top of his foot in the middle. And the other thing I want to point out is his block leg, and you can see that his leg's straight on the ground, and that's going to stop his rotation. And since his center of mass is nice and balanced over his leg in the middle, he can use that leg to rotate and drive up into the finish, just like I was talking about earlier. Using this leg to really turn and drive me into the throw and start to add extra force into the implement. A good example of a block is Robert Harding, and you can see he's got his block foot down, and that's stopping the rotation, and he's continuing everything else with his right side. And every thrower is doing the same thing. They're getting a nice block and then turning their foot in the middle to drive up and into the finish. The final position that I want to point out is the angle that the block foot is facing. This is important to make sure that you can square your hips up all the way to the finish, and every thrower is getting their block foot down in the same way. guys, I'm going to wrap up this video here. Thank you very much for watching. I can't wait to get out to practice tomorrow and continue to work on all of these things. It's definitely going to take thousands of reps to really dial everything in how I want it, but every day that I can get out there and get more reps, I'm one more practice closer to getting to the Olympics. So thanks again for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, subscribe for more. I will see you in the next one.